with the Hive Mind. I think we have a very, very special guest today. This one's going to be a good one. I'm excited. Mr. Devon Elder today. And I think we're going to learn a lot. And I'm really excited about this episode, man. So thank you for being here.
Anthony, my pleasure. Thanks for having me on, sir.
Cool, man. Well, I think a lot of people already know who you are, but if you could just kind of just give us a 10-second background and kind of what you're doing in real estate right now.
Yeah, I grew up in San Antonio, Texas.
Good city.
Corporate thing. Yes, sir. For about 10 years. And then started my real estate company with a little house in 2012. Bought it on the south side, about 3 blocks from where my father lives, over by Little Red Barn.
Yeah.
And, I joined a weekend boot camp. It worked, and then I just went crazy and basically haven't stopped. So just kind of 12 years of going crazy. Today, we own a little over 2.3 million in San Antonio. So that's across multifamily, flex, and then I don't count the square feet on the land, but we own a lot of land in Texas.
Dang, dude, congrats, man. That's monster. Yeah, that's where I'm in San Antonio myself. So this is kind of like my killing field right around me. But yeah, we buy all over Texas. How many acres do you think you own total? Any guesses?
Oh, it's kind of weird because we hold a lot of notes. So, we don't own those. We're just the lender now. But we usually buy 500 to 1,000 at a time. We've probably purchased, well over 10,000 acres at this point and sold it and kept some. Kept a lot, actually, because we kind of fell into the owner finance model and have fallen in love with that. So,
absolutely.
That's amazing, dude. That's a lot of freaking acres. Yeah, I think we're doing the same thing. So we're doing like lot splits, 10-acre splits off of big ranches. And then, you kind of get stuck with some land. Like, hey, this one's taking longer. This one's taking longer. Like, who cares? Keep going.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Some of them will take a little bit longer. Some of them sell quicker. It depends on your business model, but love land. Probably my favorite thing we do. We do all kind of real estate stuff, but land's got a special place in my heart for sure.
Everybody says that. Everybody that does land or delve in land, this is their favorite asset class.
Yeah, it's weird, right? It has something to do with being out in nature. I'm an outdoorsman. I'm a hunter, and I don't go to my apartment complexes and think like, yeah, this is amazing. But we were just out yesterday. What is today? Tuesday. We were out on Saturday on 500 acres we have in Atascosa. And I was out there with my boys, and we were trying to find some hogs to clean up, and we ended up spending a few hours out there, actually in the helicopter shooting hogs. And come on, it doesn't get any more fun than that.
And you should have like, for that one, bro. I would have been there.
And I was like, man, me and the boys are having fun, and like, we can't do that at an apartment complex.
Living the dream, man. I love being out there and on those big giant land tracts. I had never been on such a large piece of property. I think we went and saw it was like 4,500 acres or something.
Oh man,
out by Pearsall.
Yeah,
like you could hear each other breathing. So beautiful, man.
Love it out there at Pearsall. Yeah,
and it's like we're doing this for a living. Like what?
Exactly. So I think there's a component of we're all stuck behind a screen and all this, and to be able to get out in nature is just like you just know it. It just feels right out there.
I love it, dude. And literally, you could say whatever you want, but like literally being out there, there's no feeling that can describe it. You're like, what the heck? Like somebody gets to actually live like this. This is nuts. And
I know, man. It's the best.
Yeah, it's better than walking with houses full of fleas and feces.
Done those too. Yep.
I did construction and remodeling for like 20 years.
Man.
So I've been in every crap house. Me and my dad were flipping houses for other people. We were the contractors when I was right. And so now like, no, if somebody calls us with a flip house, I'm like, there better be a lot of money in there for me
to be deep. Yep.
Yeah. Come home and like, I think I got fleas. You like, leave the pants outside. Like,
oh man, I remember I've had plenty of those. Yep.
I don't want to do
those outside.
Yeah. No, I'd just rather just do land. So what other asset classes are you in, man? Like what else do you dabble in? You said apartment complexes?
Yeah, we have a lot of apartments. We've got 2,450 units in San Antonio, and one of those in San Marcos. So that's across
2,450?
2,450, yep. Across 12 assets. So, there are like 200 unit kind of apartment complexes. And then we started doing flex industrial a couple of years ago. So we usually have 40, 50 units a site with like a contractor garage. You might've heard of that. It's just a pretty simple garage with an office and a restroom in there and all sorts of tenants. A lot of lot of trades and that kind of thing, but a little bit of everything, you know, some storage, some e-commerce, and that's been kind of like apartments, but a little smaller footprint, 50 units at a site, a little easier to manage. And then it's a commercial tenant, which is a little easier to manage than a residential tenant. So that's been a great asset class for us too.
Dude,
Is there a thesis for that, or is just kind of you just came across it and picked them up?
You know, I met a guy who is a GC that has been doing a lot of our work for a lot of years. He started showing me his, and I'm like, man, these are really interesting. So he toured me around some of his that he owns, and the numbers were like undeniable, just like a really low expense ratio and a commercial tenant. And so I thought he wanted to partner with me, but he just wanted to build them. So we started building them a couple years ago, and plan it's just a long-term hold for us, you know, just cash flow deal that we can put in. And then we own the management company, so it's always nice to get another asset where we can get a little bit more fees. Management company is not a big money maker, but it's profitable, and then we can just kind of continually add assets that kind of help out the management company too. So it's been good. It's been good.
How's the capital stack on building stuff like that? Do you have like a different capital stack that builds and develops, and then you have another capital that buys out that company to hold it?
Yeah, so we'll identify the dirt. This is what we've done so far. We might get into buying existing stuff maybe next year, but so far we just identify the dirt. Probably 6-month process to get the engineers and architects to do their thing, and then once we break ground, it's probably 6 months, and then we can get into lease up. But right when it's done and we're getting into lease up, we'll build them cash and just kind of pay as we go. And then as we're getting toward the end of construction, we'll identify a refi lender to just take out the cash position. So that's been the process on those.
Gotcha. Really, really cool. You said you've been in business 12 years. You've been to 2008. I mean, no, 12 was 2012. So you caught the tail end of that, 2008.
Yeah, 2008 was what made me want to be an entrepreneur. You know, I was in the corporate world and saw how that was affecting the company I was at, and kind of it shook everything. Not that entrepreneurship is like more stable, but it just made me realize, hey, if things are going to be crazy like this, I'd rather be kind of steering my own ship. And so started researching entrepreneurship in 2008, reading books, kind of going down the path probably a lot of people go down. And so I was learning like all these entrepreneurial concepts. And then like I said, I went to a seminar in 2012, and I was like, hey, this all lines up. All this real estate stuff, which I never really considered seriously, lines up pretty well with this entrepreneurial idea I had. And that's when I got into it, 2012. So pretty good time to get in, and then happened to be in San Antonio, which has been just kind of a slow and steady market. Seemed like it never really got too hammered with the ups and downs of these Fed tightening and loosening cycles. And so San Antonio just happened to be a good market to be in. So I just planted our flag here. And I know guys that have deals all over the country, and that's fine, and everybody can run it their way. I like having stuff in our backyard for a lot of reasons.
Mm-hmm. Dude, that's so cool that you said that, because I noticed the same thing, right? Like I lived in San Antonio my whole life. So like, I'm just like, as I'm starting to get into real estate about 5.5 years ago, just like doing the research and looking at hot markets and I looked at like Phoenix, we looked at Florida, all this stuff. And then the more research I did, I'm like, I'm in the freaking best market in the country.
I know. I felt the same way. And then it's just like everybody, especially the last few years, especially in apartments, got pretty fired up about syndicating and doing deals, and all the focus is on like finding and financing a deal. But that's like the starting line. You did all this work, and okay, now you're at the start of a 5-year race, and it all comes down to operations. And if I had a deal in Phoenix, I mean, I'd be on a plane all the time, and I didn't want to do that. I was trying to be an entrepreneur for the freedom, not to be flying all over the country, looking at deals. Not to knock people. No, people are very successful with multi-state portfolios, and that's great. That's wasn't the way I built it.
Where are you at right now?
In like physically right now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we got an office in downtown San Antonio, so we bought a building right behind the Frost Tower on San
You're
Pedro.
local here. I didn't realize you were local. For some reason, I thought you were like San Marcos and New Braunfels.
No, we're here. So main headquarters downtown San Antonio. We bought this old The building's like from 1860, man. It's super
Wow.
cool. We renovated the inside, and
Like
we
dealing
have
with the
like
historical department.
what's that?
Did you like dealing with the historical department?
You know, I've done it on a few houses, and I was like, this is going to be brutal, but we didn't really touch the outside. So if you see the office right now, we need to paint the trim, right? We couldn't stain the doors. There's some things that just kind of like bug me about it, but because we didn't touch the outside, they didn't give us any grief on the inside. We took out a few walls, redid the floors, paint, did the whole design thing. But they didn't give us any grief at all. I was shocked.
Dang, dude, I got to go by that office. If you have
Just come
time,
check it out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll bring lunch next week. I'll bring some tacos.
Yeah, you guys come on my podcast, man. I'll have you right here in the studio. We do a pod.
Count me in, bro, right away.
Yeah,
Effective immediately.
Let's do it, man.
Cool, man. So I want to talk a little bit, but I'm going to just go back a little bit. I want to understand the financing for these development deals. Like, so is it like you try to get the dirt, you buy cash, you finance that portion of it, then you swap lenders with like a commercial bank or something like that?
Yeah, it seems like we shopped it to a million banks. Seems like the local community banks are the best way to go. The downside is the personal guarantee. We've done most of our deals in multifamily where you can get a $20 million loan non-recourse. That was always pretty attractive
because the bank wants that.
Yeah, right. In some cases, they might want to take it back. But that's kind of worst case scenario. If you're in a situation where you're giving it back to the bank, that means you wiped out all your equity. If you raise capital, it means you wiped out all your investor equity. So, and then at the end of the day, the bank's got an army of attorneys, and they can probably trip you up on something to make it recourse. So, that's not the end all be all having non-recourse debt, but it is nice for the multifamily, especially those big deals. The development stuff, if we're getting a $5, $6, $7 million takeout loan, that's recourse. And so, you got to feel pretty good about that asset, but it's new construction, which is nice. I actually haven't done a lot of that except for the industrial, and, they stay leased and they make good cash flow, low expense ratio, like I said. So, all things considered. So yeah, I like to build cash where we are, just paying for what we need only when we need it. It might be a $5 million project, but day one, it's $1.2 million for the dirt. Mm-hmm. And then, then your engineer wants $5,000 deposit. Your architect wants $15,000. So you're not out a ton. And then you can kind of just build as you go. And then some point, refinance all that back out.
Dude, that's beautiful, man. Yeah, I think that's where we're not going to change our business model, right? We just like cutting up ranches. It's quick and dirty, fun, easy. But we are building a 200-acre subdivision in Somerset.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we got
great. How far are you guys taking it? Are you guys just getting it shovel ready and flipping it to a builder, or are you guys taking it all the way?
I got 2 miles of road roughed in already, dude. We're gonna have 3 miles of road down. So I've got about 2 miles of clay and almost 3 miles of trees cleared. Yeah, we have our waters approved, electrical's approved. We're still waiting for the county stamp, but I'm like, I'm not gonna wait. I just roughed the damn road in. I got to be able to navigate my own ranch, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because like I was gonna get a water well put in the very back, and the guy said he can't even get his equipment back there. He's like, I'll sink in the sand. Yeah, I'm done with this shit. Like, get my roads in at least, and then we'll probably just put up like some makeshift signs to like Nate we named the streets after our kids.
That's cool, man. That's really cool. Mm-hmm. And then you guys will just sell individual lots to builders or to end buyers?
Yeah, that's what we're going to do. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
I love it.
We're looking for a refi right now. We're looking for a refi of about like 5.5, 6.5. And we got programmed for over 16 million in sales.
Fantastic.
So, yeah, it's a cool project, man. We've never done one. And again, like, I don't think we're going to become full-time developers. Like maybe in game, like we might start doing like build to rent neighborhoods. But for now, we're not going to shift our model that dramatically, right? We just like 10-acre lot splits and land flips.
Yep. I love it. And are you guys holding any of the paper on the sales, or it's all just cash?
Right, man. We need the cash to keep going, man. Yeah, we're just growing so fast. Like our acquisitions is going crazy. Like I think we have like 100 pieces of property for sale right now.
Wow,
and
that's
most of which of what we own. So yeah, it's freaking.
Do you guys always cut down to 10s, or is it 10.01 so you can shoot a gun on it, or
10.01.
Yeah.
And then now we've done quite a few. We have one going in Floresville. That's it was 5.5 acres. We're doing half-acre lots there.
Yeah.
And then we have one in Tyler where we did like 11 acres and we did like 3/4, like almost 1 acre lots there. But they just take so damn long, man. We're not excited about those. We're in the both of those deals for over a year. Right. And it's gonna be, there'll be multiple 6 figures, but like I don't want to make multiple 6 figures every 2 years. Right?
So that'll be like an end home buyer building the home on it, right? Versus a 10-acre deal that guys just looking for some recreational dirt. Those buyers are all over the place.
Yeah, and they're company owners too, man. So they're guys that they come in and like, for instance, a guy paid off his 10 acres today. Like he's been paying on it for like a year and a half or something, or 2 years. He's like, it's paid off. He has a landscaping company. He has 20 employees, so he just needed somewhere to just park all this crap.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Are you guys going pretty close to a city, or are y'all going further out?
Dude, we crop out the whole county. So like I'll just crop out all of Bear County and then just work all the surrounding counties. No red tape at all.
Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it? Yeah. Mm-hmm. I was talking to a buddy in California, telling him about how we would subdivide. Usually we're selling bigger tracts. We're selling, 40s, 50s. But he was like, well, how does all that go with the state and the platting? And I was like,
no, it doesn't exist.
We survey it at sale.
Dude, so is that how you cut up those thousands of acres? You just did the surveys only? You didn't put in any internal roads or anything?
Nope. No, because what we found, let's say we buy 500 acres and we want to sell 5 tracts off. When I started doing this, I was like, oh, man, we should put a well on there and maybe fence it for them and pretty it up. And then we go to market and somebody's like, I want tracts 1 and 2. And I'm like, okay, well, if you can hit the number, that's fine. I'm glad I didn't put a barn door on each one or whatever. Or we've even bought dirt where, it was on market. We buy the whole thing and then the neighbor buys it from me. And I'm like, bro, it's literally, you drove by the for sale sign for a year. You probably didn't think it was going to sell. Now I got to sell it to you for a much higher price to make our numbers work. And they'll buy them. And that's happened multiple times. So it just kind of taught us like, hey, let's not over improve anything. The broker we work with went out and bought this big John Deere shredder. So he'll go shred like a perimeter so his agents can go give it a proper showing. Sometimes we'll clear like a home site, but that's pretty much it, man. And then we'll get a bid for a well. So, hey, here's a well vendor we like. It's going to cost you $18K to drop a well if you want, but that's on you. So really, like in the size that we're selling, we're trying not to really do any improvements. We've talked about going smaller, but it just hadn't really been where we landed so far.
Yeah, that's what we do, man. Mostly like a culvert, right? Clear some trees, cut the grass. We got 4 acres. It's 2 separate 2-acre lots. One has 2 houses on it, and then one's raw land. You're pulling into this thing. We're trying to sell this thing for like 6 months, right? Like some damn rookies. And there's trees hanging to the ground. The grass is 3 or 4 feet high. It looks like a damn haunted house. So we go in there, we freaking cut all the grass, trim the trees, paint the 2 structures white, sold immediately, dude, like in 7 days.
It's so funny, man. I would always crack up in single family when we were flipping a bunch of houses. Like, somebody walks in the house and maybe the wife's like, I really don't like that accent wall color. You're like, man, that's the easiest fix in the world. And that's going to turn you off to buying a house. Or like in retail, it's like you're trying to rent out a retail space and then you just white box it. You literally just put primer up and boom, it rents. It's like, man.
I've tried that model with like flip houses, right? Like in mobile homes. We come in, we wide it out. We don't put the kitchen in, you know what I mean? Like it's like an order, but we make them look good, clean them out, clean the floors up. But no kitchen, house is never going to sell. Like you have like 400 showings. You put it freaking $5 or $10 grand worth of cabinets and countertops, and it sells immediately. What the heck? It's such a small project, and now we raise the price $30,000 to pay for the stupid kitchen.
That's so funny, but it's true.
And somebody buys it right away.
Yep.
So I have a question about the bigger ranch game. Is there issues like time on marketplace or time in the market for a lot bigger stuff, 50 acres, 100-acre lots? Does it sit? Because usually what we've seen is like stuff $300,000 or less used pretty quickly. But once you break that barrier, you're going to.
We've had a few where, like, we had one up in McCullough County that was 1,500 acres, and that thing sat. And the plan was to cut it down into 40s, which would have been a lot of transactions. And then we started getting interest for the whole thing. So we kind of put that on pause. And then rates hiked up. That kind of cooled things down. So that thing ended up sitting for a while. We ended up selling the whole thing to one buyer and squeaking out a little bit of margin. But yeah, on the bigger ones, it's definitely a concern. So we I would say our sweet spot is probably under 1,000 acres for the initial buy. Now, if we're selling the 100-acre stuff, the 50-acre stuff hasn't really sat. It's funny too, like when hunting season rolls around, it picks up. It's hilarious. And because a lot of these end buyers are just like, maybe they're tired of their deer lease or whatever, and they just want to buy their own place. And then the owner finance thing, I mean, that really opened thing. Once we kind of cracked the nut on how to do that, I would say the last 2 years we've sold 70-80% of our stuff owner finance. Mm-hmm. And so that was tricky because it was like, great, we got a nice margin. Somebody's paying 11%. I like this, but we got a bunch of cash tied up into it. So it took us a little while to figure out, okay, hey, we're going to go work with a bank. We're going to have them collateralize the note, and we're going to be able to pull out our cash on a line of credit from the note. So we pull our cash out of the deal. And once we figured that out, I was like, dude, we can do this, and we will all day, every day for years. We're just going to stack notes. So if we're buying the 1,000 acres or buying the 500 acres and we sell 4 tracts owner finance and 1 cash, we can basically end up cash neutral at the end of the deal. Everything's sold, but we got a pile of notes. We got $1 million or $2 million of notes now that we don't have any cash in. We're getting 11% on that. We're paying 7-8% on the line of credit, but the line of credit's a much lower dollar amount, so it's still cash flowing. And that was like, man, we're not trying to necessarily sell all cash and end up with a bunch of cash at the end of the year and a tax bill. I just want to stack notes. And not be in a deal, like not to have too much, or ideally no cash in the transaction after we've kind of bought, sold, done everything. But if I can be cash neutral and end up with a pile of notes and just keep stacking those, I'm all about it. So we'll see what happens with, I think a lot of times these guys are like, we run their credit and it's like, man, you got money, you got a high income, you just don't want to mess with the bank. And honestly, I'm the same. I'd pay a little higher to not fool with the bank. And so a lot of our buyers are in that situation. And if rates come down meaningfully next year, I bet you we see more just third-party financing, sales. But that's fine. I'll take it either way. If we can hit our number, we sell them cash, great. If we can keep a note, great. We just want to keep that volume going.
Have you had any luck acquiring solar finance, or you just come in cash?
No, we haven't really even looked. I mean, most of the stuff we buy is honestly on market. So we're just buying stuff cash and then we're going. And as long as my broker knows, and we've been doing this for years, here's what we need to sell at. Here's our buy and our sell and the spread we need to make. Go look at 100 deals and bring me the one that makes sense, and we'll sign a contract on it. So we haven't got into a lot of like creative acquisition stuff. It's usually just on market cash. Now, sometimes there's 3-4 heirs, you guys know, and title has to earn their money on it. But, or like, I remember a couple weeks ago, I was like, hey, we're closing on a Wednesday, man. Can we push this thing to Monday? I'm going to be out of town. And he's like, man, we got 4 people in their 70s flying in from 3 different states to sign. Like, we cannot move this closing. All right, that's cool. But other than like the heirs, stuff that comes up, it's a pretty clean buy. So we haven't really looked for like, taking over other notes or whatever. We're usually just originating the note.
I gotcha. I always tell people about the business, like, if you buy big enough, you just buy on market, and it's still
it's crazy. And I like that because the size company we are, I'm not necessarily looking for, and it's just my business model, I'm not looking for the steal of the century. I'm looking for something that the team can execute on repeatedly. It's kind of the same thing with multifamily. We've bought just destroyed vacant stuff at a deep discount, and that's fine, but we can buy something on market too. If it makes sense for our numbers, it's big enough, then that'll work. So that's kind of the space we play in.
That's what we do, man. We go after the on-market stuff too, but we make all creative offers, 100% creative offers.
Yeah.
And that's our game right now. Like I said,
I like it.
Yeah, we're doing the same thing. We're not messing with banks. We've never taken a bank loan or from an institution.
If you can operate like that, I think it's a thing of beauty, man. You're just operating kind of sort of outside the system, and you can go so much faster. And sometimes it's a win for the seller too. To maybe they don't even, maybe you're educating them on a new way to transact they didn't know about.
Yeah, dude, it definitely is a win-win, and our sellers love us, man. Yeah, because they're just like, yeah, like stuff been sitting on market for 6 months or a year. We come give them like 20-25% down. They're just happy they got it moved.
Exactly.
Yeah, they give us
carry some paper for a little bit or whatever. Keeps it simple for y'all.
Yeah, we do short-term balloon, 3-year balloon, 5-year balloon.
Yeah,
that's great. Get in the deal, chop it up, flip it, and gone. On to the next. So
yeah, if I didn't have like an accounting team to deal with the bank requests, I mean, it's endless, right?
Yeah,
endless bank stuff. So if you can just kind of step outside all that, that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because that's a challenge we've never had before. So how many people on the accounting team, and what's their day-to-day look like?
Yeah, so I mean, it's across the whole portfolio. So we've got a CFO, and then he's got 3 folks that report to him just for our multifamily. So as you can imagine, you got thousands of units. I mean, I can't even tell you the transaction volume, the amount of work orders, the amount of payables coming in, the amount of
owning a construction company almost, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's just so much. So it's 3 people on that team, and then we have one other accountant that he kind of handles everything else. So he does all the land, all our other transactions, any other type of asset class we do, keeps the books for all our companies, everything, and then the controller kind of runs that whole team. So that's 5 people on the accounting team, but they're managing $300 million worth of assets. So there's, it certainly supports that size of a team, but I like it, man. It's like,
that's your management company, right?
Yeah. We kind of have 2, we got a bunch of companies. We kind of have one company I would call like the private equity company that I'm employed by now, that will raise capital and things like that. And then we have an actual property management company where we've got 60 employees. Most of them work for that property management company, including most of those accountants, all the on-site staff and everything.
That's a beautiful operation, man. I can't wait to hang out with you more. And like, I could probably spend all day just talking about that one subject, because Daniel came from trucking. I came from construction, right? So we've never run a high level company like that has so many different operations. So, just where we're going with the new app and these other things is like, man, I got so many like high level business questions and stuff I've never had to face before. So I feel like we're in your what do you call that? Like when you're in like a race car, like you're just falling right behind. We're drafting behind you.
Yeah. Well, there's pros and cons for sure. I mean, the guy that has an info product out there and no employees and works 20 hours a week, that's a win too, right? I just I like real estate. I like having a big team, because at the scale, you kind of have somebody that's like good, not like a VA or something, which I've had VAs and I'm not knocking them, but for a lot of time in the business, it was just me, for many years, me doing everything. And that's fine. That's how you get your start as an entrepreneur. But like, as the company's progressed, it's pretty cool to have, okay, hey, we have a marketing leader. We have a CFO. We have an operations leader with a lot of experience that's making good money and can like really, run some of this stuff. So that's been a lot of fun having it kind of at scale. At the same time, though, it's a massive operation. You kind of almost get used to the amount of just constant things popping up. But I like it, man. I don't like to sit still. I think a lot of entrepreneurs are like this. I don't like every day to be the same. I hated corporate America and just kind of being stuck in the same thing, or in a huge bureaucracy with politics and stuff. And I like to do a lot of projects. So having that team there to support all these different things has been a lot of fun.
That's cool, man. I think that's the way my mind works. Like, I could probably be a one-man operation and be comfortable for the rest of my life, but I'm not comfortable with that. Like, I like to see people win and succeed. And I kind of am addicted to it, where I grew up in multi-level marketing. So like, when you take a new person and then you make them successful, like that's a win that you don't get that same feeling when they send you a $200,000 wire. It's like, it's just operation money.
Yeah.
Right? But when you see somebody go from nothing to something, like, that's beautiful, man. It's very rewarding. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yes, having a massive team. Like, I don't like running the team, so I don't do like the operations like that. But having those people in place that do like the sales team training and you know, contracts department, all these different moving pieces, just like seeing it all come together. I was just telling Daniel today, it's like a beautiful symphony, man. And like today is the first day that I actually like felt and appreciated like how much of a well-oiled machine that we've built with all the people that are involved. It's like, that conversation happened like 2 hours ago. I mean, this is amazing, dude. This is coming together really nicely. So yeah, I would love to take a little closer look at your operation. If you would give us some direction, because we are growing quickly. And I think, like I said, with the new app and the new strategy, it's just going to go viral, man. So we're like planning for explosive growth.
That's exciting.
Yeah. Heck yeah, dude. Do you have anything else you want to share with the listeners, man? For our guys, we're mostly like land people, and we are raising capital right now. I guess we've always done so, right? Because we've always operated with private capital or our own. But do you have any tips in that department, like for raising capital?
Yeah, I mean, we've been raising money that was the kind of turning point for our company, where I started out with single family houses and would do hard money, which I thought was this, I'd never heard of. I was like, oh my gosh, somebody's going to give me $100,000. And, you know, it was 13% interest and 3 points. But if the deal worked, you know, that was it. So I cut my teeth on hard money. And then I was presenting at a meetup, and a gentleman was like, hey, looks like you built, you've got a little track record here. I'd loan you some money and be a little cheaper. I'm a little easier to work with. And the light bulb went off for me, that, man, and this is, I didn't grow up with anything. So I didn't know a lot of people with money. Yeah. And it just dawned on me as like this big aha moment that, man, there's a whole group of people out there. Maybe they're a little further in their career and they've been successful. They literally have the problem of, what do I do with all this money? You're sitting on $1 million and you got it in a CD, or that's not great. Although it's been better the last few years. You're going to gamble in the stock market. Like, your options aren't great. You could put it in real estate, double digit return, and it's collateralized. Like, that's attractive to a lot of people. And so once I realized, like, hey, I can maybe solve the problem for some of these people that have capital and they're not at a point in their life where they want to go hustle like I am. So just building that relationship, kind of opened up. And then after doing that for a few years on one-off deals, I started syndicating. I said, instead of borrowing $100K one at a time, let's see if we can do 2 million from 15 investors in one deal. And so transition there. But my game plan there has always been the same since the beginning. And the same thing I tell other people, it's a monthly newsletter where you're talking about your deals, and then it's launching deals to that newsletter, and then having way more people on that list than you need, so that you can send the follow-up email of, this is funded. Ideally, like,
ooh, I love that.
After, right? Because the biggest, I've heard it said, people don't want what they want. People want what they see other people wanting. So if you kind of show it out there, hey, we got this deal and it's going to pay, double-digit return, blah, blah, blah. And then the follow-up email is, all right, this is fully funded. All the people on the sidelines on the list that see that a few times are going to be like, man, these guys are legit. And clearly a lot of people want in on this because they keep oversubscribing all their deals. And so my thing has always been, let's just try to have 10 times as many people on that list as we need, so that we can oversubscribe on deals. And then just continuing to share. I found most adults are inherently interested in real estate. So, your barbecue or your whatever, everybody wants in on the game, but we know most people are never going to get in on it as operators. So just kind of by talking about it, people are interested. And my goal was always, hey, let's, look, I got a newsletter, man. It's kind of always talking about what I'm up to. You want to jump on that? We actually just today published the 84th consecutive monthly newsletter. So I think that's 7 years in a row since I started that first newsletter. And so just putting it out there. And then early on, I was going to conferences. I was trying to meet with investors. I've had a podcast for a few years. And then in 2020, I was actually I started measuring a KPI for myself. How many new prospective investors am I talking with this week? Because that's what's really going to move the needle on raising capital. Having a conversation, maybe it's a 15-minute conversation, maybe it's a coffee or a lunch or dinner. A lot of times it's a 15-minute phone call of just, hey, get to know you. Here's what we're up to, and watch your email. We'll be sending out deals. And so I started actually tracking that a few years in, and I was like, I'm going to hit 5 or 10 a week, no problem. 10 conversations a week, no problem. First week goes by, I had 1. And I was like, whew, okay, next week I'm going to hit 5. Next week I had 2 conversations, and I'm like, man, I've got these goals over here, and I know how much capital it's going to take. There's no way we're going to get there. So I ended up hiring an investor relations person who's still with us, runs the department now. And that really kind of freed me up to go run the business. So, you know, depending on the scale people are trying to get to, being able to bring somebody in for investor relations and that's just their job to focus on having those new calls. That was huge. But early on, it was just, hey, the metric was let's grow the list and the list is just anybody that is interested in seeing what we're up to and maybe has the capability to invest 50 grand minimum at some point in their life. Maybe they're a dentist or doctor or entrepreneur or whatever the case is. So really just growing that list and trying to oversubscribe deals when you put them out there. That was big for us, I think, early on, that just showing people and then just posting your wins. Hey, we exited this deal. The investor made this much in 9 months or 15 months or whatever. And just case study. And then playing the long game. You know, it's like there's investors that have been with us for years and years, and they all have networks. You know, we want to be the kind of business where somebody would give us a referral without asking. So how do we really set up a really good customer service model for the investors where they would tell their neighbor about it or tell their buddy about it or tell their brother about it? And so, you know, it's kind of grown organically for the most part through referrals over the years.
Dude, that's a freaking amazing setup, dude. Just that whole entire, like everything you just said, I'm just like mind blown. Like, what the heck? So yeah, it's its own ecosystem, right? Like same way you'd go out and farm for deals and follow up with sellers, you're just kind of playing in that same space. But I love the idea of the newsletter because that's how like every other company does it, right? So whether they're selling like training for stock market or whatever, like everybody just has that newsletter. And I love that. Like, hey, closed and funded. And we saw that too. So we had recently sat with some investors. They wanted to buy like a few deals off of our deal sheet. And they thought about it over the weekend or 5 days or whatever. And somebody came and bought all of them. Like, so
perfect.
They lost that opportunity. They're like, damn, all those deals are gone. Like, yeah, they're gone now.
Yeah, that FOMO is real, and there's nothing better. You know, somebody described it to me like Studio 54 marketing, right? Studio 54, this big popular club in the 70s or whatever in New York. And there would just be a line outside and they wouldn't, you know, all these people wanted to get in. They let you in if you were a hot girl or you're famous or whatever. But because of that crowd and that line, it just created this crazy demand for it because people couldn't have it. So if you can, not to be rude to investors, but if you can take it away, you know, that shows them that other people want what you have, and they'd probably be a little quicker on the trigger for the next deal. And then we've always done kind of first come, first serve. Like I've seen a lot of capital raisers do. It's like, hey, we're doing a deal. It's $5 million. We're launching it today. It's open until it's done. And then, you know, hopefully you send out an email, not too far in the future that, all right, this is full. And inevitably there's gonna be people that missed out on it. And those are gonna be the people in my experience that are going to be wanting to be in your next deal.
Have you tried going after larger capital resources like family offices and RIAs and all that other stuff?
We have not taken any big checks to date. We've explored it especially over the last couple of years. Hey, could we get a pref equity check in here? Let's say a multifamily deal, you know, we're just looking at one the other day, $18 million purchase. Maybe we have a $4 million pref equity come in. I just heard so many horror stories from friends in the business where, you know, you get to the 1 yard line on closing and then they bail on you, which is, you know, if you get 200 grand earnest money in a deal and it's hard, you don't want to be in that situation. So I've never wanted to be in that situation. Not that we wouldn't, we would explore. But the thing is, what I've seen with bigger check writers on, let's say, larger deals is they kind of have rightfully a list of demands and everything. What I like about sourcing capital 100K at a time is it's a lot of work, but we have a team now dedicated to that. And if 100K investor in a deal is like, hey, last minute I'm out, we're like, okay, who cares? Like, there's 10 more people behind you ready to scoop this up. And 100K is not changing our business model or pushing our close date or anything like that. So it's almost like, you know, you don't have any single point of failure on it. But that said, we have looked at larger check writers. It's just that, We haven't put any together to date. Talk to me next year. Maybe that'll change, but we've kind of, and I've gone over this, looked at a million different ways over the years. Still would kind of prefer to just have a lot of small check writers in a deal, because none of them are going to tank your deal. No single investor is going to tank your deal.
Yeah, I like spreading out the risk like that too. So we've noticed those bigger check writers are sharks too, man. They want they want very specific things. And we got one guy, like we had 2 interviews with him, and he was ready to go, ready to cut the check. And we said, you know what? We decided we don't want your check.
Yeah.
His demands were too deep, man.
What's tricky is, it's just money. Nobody's money is any better than anybody else's. And so
they're all green, right?
It's all green, man. And it all spends the same. So, I'm looking for easy to do business with partners, because, somebody that comes in with all these demands, it's the same dollar amount as the next investor that's maybe easier to work with. And I think some of the experienced investors know that, they want to find some operators they feel comfortable with. They're going to be easy to work with, and they know they're going to get invited back to future deals. But yeah, that's right. It's you can end up raising some pretty expensive money just in terms of headaches if you're not careful.
Dude, that's one thing that we did, right? So we're coming in with private money and our own money, and running on zero for a long time, right? Just recycling our own capital back in until we started to have those private money connections.
Yep.
And yeah, man, some lenders are just, or investors, they're just, they're harder to work with, and it makes your life more stressful.
Right.
Like they're trying to do like weekly check-ins or whatever. Like, hey, it's land, bro. It's going to take a few months. You know what I mean? So yeah, we have uninvited some people back into deals. And it's like, yeah, we just like running the company is its own stress, right? So I don't need.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, as an investor, it's like you want your operator hustling every day on the business, right? But I understand people might be scared about their money, and that's fine. Or maybe they're new investors. We talk about this a lot internally. I used to work at Rackspace, and there was like a cost to support each customer. Right. And that was a metric that the company tracked. It's like, okay, this guy's paying 10 grand a month or 100 grand a month for services. There's a metric for what it costs to support that customer. And if, at some point it's like, this customer's not profitable. He's paying us, but we're consuming all these resources supporting him. We kind of look at the investor relations the same way. Like, hey, we're going to focus and do really well on operating so that we can get you the returns, but we can't overburden our team with, massive amounts of service requests and stuff like that. We'll probably just not invite you back if that's the case, because we kind of have to manage our team burnout and how much time they're spending on certain things. And so, I've always told my investor relations, our head of investor relations, like, hey, man, if you need to fire an investor, don't even check with me. Let me know, but you have full discretion to just, and that's an exception. It's rare, but you got to watch especially a small business, you got to watch your resources at every, you're trying to keep your utility bill in the office as low as it can be, and this, and this, and this. And so you got to watch the service costs on that as well. But raising capital can be great, because, if you look at your capital options out there with the headache of banks or larger check writers, maybe wanting too much of the deal or whatever, I think, a army of small check writers has just kind of always served us well.
Yeah, I think that's a great business model too. Like we have 1 or 2 heavy-handed investors, but everybody else, they're somewhere like 50, 100, 150.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Cruise control. They have a full-time job. They don't want to be in the dirt like us, like literally in the dirt.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'll tell people, hey, you could go make more on a deal. Just quit your job and go do it all day, and then do it for 5 years, and maybe you get good at it. It's like, this guy's a dentist, man. He already went to school. He already put in his time. Or this guy's a successful this or that. They already invested to get where they're at. They don't want to start over. Yeah.
And that's kind of funny that you say that, right? Because you're thinking like, hey, I already have so much cash stacked up from my full-time job or my business, right? My in the doctor or something. And you just think, well, that guy's smart. He could easily get into the game and do it. But now it's a whole entire new animal, like that you're not familiar with. I'm sure all have been kicked in the teeth, right? We've all got into a deal that
100%
lost, and like, so the pain, they're like, it's not risk free, right? Trying to learn the game.
No, sir. Yeah. No, sir.
What's a quote that's yours or somebody else's that you resonate with?
I guess this is mine. I'm sure somebody said it before, but every day is a good last day. So, I have big goals and want to grow and want to do all these things and have done, checked a bunch of dreams off the list. But at the end of the day, I want to be set up so that, if I get to that end of that day, I get to end of today and that was it, that I don't have any, that it was a good day. And so I think that framework, I think Steve Jobs had something along those lines. He was a little more drawn out, but if that's my philosophy, every day is a good last day. So, I want to set it up so that, yeah, I love to work hard, but I want to be enjoying it. I want to be balancing it with, health, family time, free time, kind of have all the things set up so that, I don't know when my card's getting punched, maybe today, maybe it's in 30 years. I don't know, but I want every day to, or at least set out to make every day a good last day. That's kind of the way I look at the world.
It's a beautiful philosophy, man. That is amazing. I'm glad you said that. That's powerful. Yeah. If we could spend some time meditating on that one for sure.
Yeah. And it keeps me from getting wrapped up in net worth and these big goals. I believe in big goals, but it's, you don't want to get in a situation where like, man, we want to get to $1 billion assets under management, and then you can live life. It's like, nope, because you're going to get there and it's not going to matter. And you'll have spent your whole life chasing it. I just spoke at a conference in Seattle last week, and this is crazy. I won't say his name, but big investor. And he was speaking and he said somebody on his team sent him a text message and say, hey, we just tallied up your financial statement. You hit $1 billion of stuff you own. The things you own are worth $1 billion. And he texted back, huh. And he just reflected on like all the blood, sweat, and tears of decades. And he said it wasn't worth it. He thought, he said he'd been through a couple divorces, and hey, lots of people get divorced, but he had kind of set it up that it was this big thing he was building to. And once you get there, you kind of normalize it pretty quick. And so I think that's important because it's got to be both, man. As an entrepreneur, you set these huge goals and you want to go chase after them, and that's great. But it's not like you're going to change into a different person when you get there. You're just going to normalize it like we normalize everything else. So I think it's good to keep focus on that.
Yeah, I think that's something that I do. I spend a lot of time in prayer and meditation, and a lot of reflecting. And I am a workaholic, right? Like I don't have hobbies, bro. Like I don't go hunting, I don't go fishing.
Yeah,
I work and I work out, and that's pretty much everything I got.
Love it, man. Yeah.
Spend a lot of time with my parents. Spend a lot of time with my kids, and so it's like, yeah. What I think somebody had posted. I first got into real estate, maybe it was like that 5 years ago. And somebody posted, I think it was Corey Thompson, one of them. He posted on Facebook, like, what's your goal as a real estate investor? And everybody's like, I want $1,000. I want $1,000. Yep. And like, my comment said, I'm not thinking about arbitrary numbers like that. Yeah, like maybe if I had to put a number on it, maybe like, okay, 1,000 acres and $1,000, but who cares? You know what I mean? Like I'm more interested in building the systems, right?
Yes.
And putting things into place that make the machine run well. And then however much money it prints is however much money it prints. But we don't have like hey, we're going to hit $1 billion by 2050. Like who cares?
Yeah, exactly. There's this has been said a million different ways, but goals are for people that want to win once, and systems are for people that want to win all the time. And I think that's so true, that you want to set up those systems that will repeatedly deliver those things. And that's where it's at 100%. And then the end goals, I like end goals, a 3-year goal or 5-year goal, or just a dollar amount or an acres or doors, square feet, whatever, because it helps you reverse engineer how you're going to get there. If the goal is, we want to do X and we're going to need to raise $100 million in 5 years. Well, all right, what do we do year one? And what do we do today? And I think the big goal can really crystallize, well, hey, what we're doing today is not going to get us there. What can we change in today? And so I think that's super helpful. I think goals are helpful as really just a way to set up your systems, but it should be 99% focus on systems, 100%.
I love that model, dude. Yeah, for sure. I think that's why we like the software game, because it kind of like integrates everything, and it's a good model. Yeah.
Oh yeah, huge.
That's all I've ever been interested in the systems. And then as far as like these long-term crazy goals is, you know, like we said, hey, that 1,000 acres, like we bought 400 in a year. You know what I mean? So it's like, so it was so arbitrary in my mind back then. I'm thinking 1,000 is like a massive, massive number. That's as big as I could think as a new investor. But you know, come to find out, it's not, again, like you said, it's normalized now. Like who cares? We're just doing it. It's
normalized. Yeah. So you set a new one. You know, keep building the systems to, if that's what you want to do, and you don't have to, but it is fun and challenging. And that's, I think we're all doing this, you know, obviously for money, but there's some element of like working your brain and problem solving that is, like I've had times throughout the years as an entrepreneur where I was really sold on this passive income, massive free time. I did not find that fulfilling. I mean, you know, at all. And so I find fulfillment out of working and solving problems.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Yeah, exactly the same. Dude, we're so alike, dude. I can't wait to hang out with you.
That's right. It's a certain kind of crazy to be an entrepreneur, man. And you find the other crazies. It's like, all right, man, this guy gets
it. Dude, well, I think that's probably a good point to wrap it up, dude. This was a lot of fun. I feel like we definitely need to do part 2 of this one, but yeah, maybe jumping on your podcast is part 2.
Yeah, no, let's do it, man. I'll follow up with you guys. And Anthony, Daniel, it's been a pleasure. I appreciate you having me on.
Dude, it was an honor, dude. Thank you.
All right, we'll see you guys.
Bye.
Hey, if you have any deals you'd like to submit to the Hive Mind and our team, go to hivebc.io. It's actually the Hive Buyers Club. Submit your deals and we can hopefully dispel your deal for you. Have a great day.